You are listening to your new Puppies podcast, starting you and your dog off on the right paw. Here's your host, Debbie Salento.
Hello and welcome to our first Q&A episode. So first I want to thank you for asking such great questions. Not only do I have some great questions to answer today, but I've already created a couple episodes, including episode 6, which is all about when your dog steals your stuff, and episode 7, which is all about digging, that were both directly influenced by the questions and suggestions that you sent in. And there's nothing I love more than making sure that I'm giving you guys the information that you need, that you're looking for. So please keep them coming. If you're not sure how to send the questions in, that's okay. I will explain that towards the end of the episode. So before we get to the questions, I just want to remind you that this podcast is not a substitute for a live private trainer, mainly because I've never met your dogs, I've never met you, and situations can vary slightly. Even if it's, both two people have the same issue, say like jumping, it might be slightly different because your dog's different, because you're different, because your lifestyle's a little different. Especially if you have some red flag behaviors like aggression and biting, fearfulness, things like that. It's really important, and I urge you to work with a trainer personally. All my advice and my tips here are just from my experience from similar situations, and it's more of a starting point for you. And one last note, I just want to mention that all the questions I'm going to go through here today, there's 3 of them, I'm going to leave them anonymous, and any future questions that you want to send in, just give me your first name and where you're from. And if you don't want that said or announced, then just don't sign the email and I'll keep it anonymous. Totally up to you. All right, so let's get started. So this first question, which I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit, it's essentially about dealing with a multiple dog household. Specifically, this listener has 10 dogs, bless your heart, of different breeds and different sizes. She wants to work on them constantly mopping the door and just to keep things under control so they can live together. Okay, understandable. So the first thing I'm going to say is that a 10-dog household is not my area of expertise. A multiple dog household that I'm used to working with is more like 2 or 3 dogs. And my general advice is to work with each dog individually before you bring them together, because you want to set a nice foundation with each individual dog so they already know what you're asking of them, whether it's a, formal command like down, stay, or if it's just a behavior like not jumping. You want to create a nice foundation so each dog actually knows what you're asking for them, because as I am sure you have experienced, when you bring dogs together, it's a totally different experience than when you're training them by themselves. First of all, the other dog is a distraction, and there's a different dynamic and a different energy there. And what will happen is if you try to train multiple dogs at the same time, you're going to have a dog that gets it and a dog that doesn't, and the dog that gets it is going to get a little frustrated. You're getting him in a downstay and you're still working with this dog over here. Well, the one that's sitting in a downstay like he's supposed to might lose his patience, might get a little frustrated there. So you want to try to keep them on the same level. And the only way to really do that, because every single dog is different, is to train them separately before you bring them together. Now, with 10 dogs, that might be a lot to ask, depending on how much time you have in the day. You might try to pair them up, or maybe have a group of 2 or 3 that are on the same level, and then maybe slowly build that group together. Or what I do in my house, which is going to be very different from yours, because I do have multiple dogs in my house all the time, because as I've mentioned before in prior episodes, I do board my clients' dogs in my home, but it's not a permanent pack. We don't all live together all the time. It's constantly changing. So I'm using more management techniques than actual training, because sure, I can train this pack today, but tomorrow it's going to have different dogs in it. So what I do is I have gates on every room in my house. I typically don't use crates unless the dog's already crate trained, but I have gates. So when I need to manage the pack as a whole, I might remove 1 or 2 dogs or all of them and just have them in their rooms, maybe with a chew toy or a bully stick, or maybe it's just time for them to rest. Within this question specifically asked about the front door, I actually have a sign on my front door that tells whoever's standing out there to please be patient because it takes me a while to get to the door. And I find with that sign there, I don't feel all rushed and I'm not all frantic to control the dogs and then to be able to answer the door. It puts me in a better mindset where I'm like, all right, they can wait a second and let me handle what dogs are here. Now, I have a hard rule that no dogs are allowed near the front door when I open it. So it usually means that I'm separating them and I'm putting them where they're going to be safe if I can't supervise them right then. That's what I do. I don't know if that's going to work for you because, like I said, it is a little different because you're looking for a permanent pack to live together. Mine's constantly changing. If you want specific things from them, as I mentioned before, you can train them separately or maybe in small groups. Again, this isn't my area of expertise, but hopefully some of that helped and maybe it's a good starting point for you. Okay? This next question is about they brought a new dog into the home. They have 2 older dogs that are both Rottweilers and therapy dogs. The new dog is a mini golden doodle. The little pup is very energetic. If I've met golden doodles before, I understand what you're saying. And won't leave them alone. Okay. So this is really going to depend on your 2 older dogs. If they are well socialized with other dogs, if they've had a lot of experience with other dogs other than each other, I'm talking about outside dogs, maybe they went to daycare or the dog park or they have lots of doggy friends. If they are well socialized adult dogs, they are actually the best teachers for a new puppy. Now, I know that there's a size difference, so it might make you a little nervous. So that's why I'm saying it really depends on the dogs and how much you trust them to properly tell your new dog, all right, I am not ready to play. Now, I know you see them pestering the dog and you feel bad because they probably had a peaceful life before this guy came into the house. I understand that. But again, it depends on these dogs. If they're really well socialized, sometimes those adult dogs are the best teachers for a younger dog. I would also suggest giving this young puppy, a golden doodle, lots and lots and lots of exercise and entertainment outside of these 2 guys. And that's going to give them a little bit of a relief. And also for you and your 2 older dogs, don't be afraid to utilize the crate. I'll put a link in the show notes. I have an episode on how to use a crate if she isn't already crate trained. But don't be afraid to give yourself a little bit of break. Give her a bully stick, give her a Kong, let her rest in the crate. If she's really pestering everybody. Your best bet might be, giving the young dog something else to do, some other way to exercise her, a different toy. Maybe you try to put the puppy in daycare. That's going to tire her out. And the other dogs at the daycare are very well socialized dogs. So they're going to teach her when to stop, when it's not appropriate. Okay, we can play now, but not play later. You can try things like that. But again, it depends on, but it can be tough, especially when you have older dogs with the new, very energized puppy coming in. They will pester them. I mean, I don't think there's anything more that a puppy loves other than other dogs. It's their instinct. They want to play. So if you're not comfortable with letting your older dogs kind of handle the situation, then maybe try a daycare or just giving this dog some extra exercise, or maybe her own little gated area to give the big guys a little rest, or maybe the big guys get their own little gated area if they like to sleep a little bit more, or just simple distraction. Give the puppy something else to do, but I know it's going to be hard to redirect her from the 2 big guys because that's probably all she wants to do is play with these guys. Okay, so I hope that helped. Again, I at least want to give you a starting point. Our last question is relatively simple. We're looking to add to our fur family, congratulations, but have a question. We have a male and a female. So what's the best for a baby to add? Another male or another female? Very good question. In episode 2, I did mention that if you're looking to get another dog and you already have a dog, whether it's in your household or just a dog that your new puppy or dog is going to be around, to try to get the opposite sex. But here there's a male and a female, so which one do we get now? So this isn't a hard and fast rule. This is very, very general. Your main priority is going to be the temperament and the personality of your current dogs and the dog you're planning to bring in. So that's your number one priority. Now, all of that being equal, I would lean towards another male. Now, here's why. Again, this is not a hard and fast rule. I would rather, meet your dogs and know who they are, and you know your dogs better than anybody else. But the reason why I would lean towards another male is because from my own experience and my own research, if there is a problem, if 2 of the dogs in a household don't get along, 2 females are harder to recover from that conflict than 2 males. So if 2 females fight, it's harder to improve the situation than if it's 2 males. Now, it's possible. It's very, very possible. There's this great article in Psychology Today that explains all of this, and this is all statistics, so we know that there's always exceptions. It's very possible to resolve the conflict. It's just slightly harder when it's 2 females. And a female-female fight tends to be a little bit more intense than a female-male fight. So what I'm saying is if there is a problem, then 2 females are a little worse. But just because you bring another female into a house with a female dog doesn't mean there is going to be a problem. Just that if there is, 2 males are easier to handle than 2 females. That's where it's coming from. But again, number one priority is their temperament. I'll post that article on the show notes plus any links that I've mentioned during this episode. It's going to be playtimepause.com/QA1. So that's the number 1. So playtimepause.com QA1. Or you can just go to playtimepause.com, click on podcast, and find this episode. Okay, so if you're wondering how to ask your own questions or get your own suggestions for topics and training techniques, you can email me directly. I have a special email, yournewpuppy@playtimepause.com. Or if you head over to my website and you sign up for weekly updates, which just lets you know about new podcast episodes, you'll be able to reply straight to the email that you receive. Okay, so our next couple episodes are going to be about jumping and potty training, which come directly from your questions. So please keep them coming in. I love answering them. I love reading them. And I will see you guys soon. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to your New Puppies podcast. Learn more about us at playtimepause.com.